Ngahiwi, it's been amazing having you on. Ironically, I'm not sure if you or Clint are aware of this, but we haven't actually talked about Māori Language Week yet. We've been talking about amazing things, it's much longer than we said to have you for. I really appreciate your grace of being with us, but we have you here actually to talk about Māori Language Week. Do you have it in the last couple of minutes? Do you want to just touch on anything and tell us about it? Tell us what's happening, and then we can say goodnight and thank you for your time.
Look, we've had a wonderful Māori Language Week today. I mean, we started yesterday with the parade in Wellington, and it's always a good thing for us. You know, we sit at our desks every day banging away on computers, but we don't often get opportunities to meet the people who are impacted by our work. So when we have the parade, we're able to meet these people. And look, there's nothing cuter than a little kid, right? A little blonde kid with a moko on and things like that, you know, saying, "Kia ora, ko waito ingoa," right? And these are the things that we really love about Te Wiki, seeing the support for the language, seeing, you know, the tiki and all the other stuff on the Sky Tower, for instance, has been incredible. Watching people try. I mean, look, we watched the weatherman on the 6 o'clock news do his weather bilingually. Now, this guy's obviously, you know, he didn't grow up in Aotearoa, he grew up in England, but he's given it a shot, right? And those are the types of things I really like because, you know, giving it a go really is what it's about at the moment. We're in a stage of normalization, but Te Wiki is our Māori Language Week is our shop window when we get to put all the goodies out there and everybody gets an opportunity to put their foot in the water and see whether they want to go for a swim, right? And look, we have an invitation. There used to be this thing that we were forcing te reo down people's throats, which is absolute rubbish. What we issue to New Zealanders is an invitation. If you don't accept it today, that's cool. You know, you might be back tomorrow, the following week, next month, next year. Whenever you make that decision to learn te reo, we'll be here to support you to do that.
I was going to say one last thing, and it's not actually this year, but I can remember last year in Māori Language Week, going to the drive-through at McDonald's, and they had a welcome in Māori first before they said, "Do you want fries with that?" But all I could think, and I said this last year, I was like, why isn't this not every week? This just feels like, what's the difference about going to New Zealand's McDonald's versus Australia and America and South Africa? One is you can get a Kiwi burger sometimes, and two is we could use te reo more at McDonald's, replace McDonald's with any other business name you want. And it doesn't have to be just a, 7 days a year kind of initiative. It could be an every time initiative because it was awesome.
No, I agree. And look, that's one of the things we're trying to do is to get people to extend it out, and say, look, say kia ora. They're two words, but they mean a lot to people. Or say kia ora, no mai haere mai. And it's what I really enjoy now about, watching sport on Sky is that they do that. No mai haere mai ki o tautahi. I think Tony Johnson's an absolute hero. I've watched the old guy, Mr. Nisbet, trying really hard to pronounce Māori words properly, and those guys all deserve a pat on the back. Everybody who gives it a go. I mean, for me, te reo Māori is easy because I've had it since I was a kid. But for others who are coming in there, like you doing your mihi, Clint, it's a bit of a harrowing experience, right? You're worried about making a mistake. There are times though where I'll make a mistake and then think to myself, "Oops, I hope they didn't pick that one up." But look, it's something that we would love to be able to get businesses to do, to use the language all the time and to feel really comfortable to do that. And, as we extend the number of, private organizations that we have a relationship with, we can probably get to McDonald's. Probably fatal for me though, mate. If I stop talking, I'll start shoving food down my throat. It's a bit like that.
I think just to wrap up, and Clint, you can have a last thought next, but I think the idea of making mistakes needs to be more like welcomed on board. Like, I know some of us understand when we should use the word less versus fewer, or when we should use the word Clint and I or Clint and me, whether we should say the word ask or arcs. We hear that every day. And only the real bastards go, it's actually fewer, it's not less. So we make these mistakes all the time in English. So to be too precious about making a mistake in a language you're learning, I think needs to be something our pride needs to get over, because no one speaks perfect language X, te reo, English, Japanese, everyone makes mistakes, even people who have spoken that language their whole lives. And
Yep.
if we accept that and we accept those mistakes are going to happen, maybe it'll be easier for us to pick it up and be not scared of them. Yeah. Clint, do you want to say anything at the end, Clint?
I just wanted to say, you know, when I came back from spending some time in Europe, being back in Aotearoa, it really hit me that what makes New Zealand special is te reo Māori and the Māori people. You know, otherwise it's a bunch of white guys. We're all over the world. You know, this is what makes New Zealand unique, and you know, it's something that we should all embrace. And like I you know, I remember my old man. You know, he's pretty set in his ways, but even back in the day, he'd always call things like half pie, and he'd say tai ho. And I said to him, "Do you realize you're using Māori words there, or you know, bastardized versions of it?" And he's like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yep, you never knew, you know." But that's, you know, it's a feature of our whole culture that you won't find anywhere else in the world, and I think that's what makes this country rich.
Yeah, and I think it's the willingness of more and more people now, you know, to you know, put their feet in the water and try it out and learn. But you know, I mean, I don't think what we've done and what we are doing could happen anywhere else. You know, I love this country. I usually last about 5 days in Aussie. I want to come home. You know, I went to America for the first and only time in 2018. And the 4 or 5 days I spent there was more than enough. I mean, people, you know, we go to the UN and they're toting guns. It's kind of like, go on, make my day. And I thought, I'm not going to make your day because I'm getting out of here. And, you know, and I get back home. And look, you know, for us, we have governments that are supportive and we have governments that are not. And our job is to keep on keeping on, regardless of what the political climate is, and to keep on promoting the language to the people that matter, and that's our community. And you know, that goal of making Aotearoa New Zealand a Māori-speaking nation is one I'd love to come back and you know, and see in 50 years' time. At the moment, we've got this thing called Te Pūtahi Mahara, which is a digital time capsule. So for people out there who want to do that, go to reomaori.co.nz, and you can't leave any smelly socks or things like that there, but what you can do is leave a video of yourself saying kia ora or doing a mihi, so that in 50 years' time, your grandchildren can open that up and go, oh, look, here's my grandfather murdering te reo Māori. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking, right? Well, there's my grandfather showing pictures of me speaking Māori or whatever.